Your ears do not deceive you. You have just entered the Cryptid Creator Corner brought to you by your friends at Comic Book Yeti. So without further ado, let's get on to the interview.
Hello and welcome to Comic Book Yeti's Cryptid Creator Corner. I'm one of your hosts, Jimmy Gasparo, and I have two returning guests that I'm really excited to talk to because we had a great conversation last time. But we're just going to jump right into it because these fellas have been on before, and I'm a big fan of their work. So please welcome back to the podcast, Tyler Chin Tanner and Jared Lujan. Tyler, Jared, as we record this, it's Father's Day, so happy Father's Day, you guys. Happy Father's Day, everybody. So yeah, let's just how have the two of you been? Because it's been a little while since we last spoke. How's everything been going?
It's been going pretty well, really busy, lots going on with the industry and at home and things like that. But yeah, no, that's just the way it is. That's the life we chose being in this industry.
Yeah,
Some crazy times for sure, but yeah, that's all a part of it. Gotta love it.
yeah, it does seem like quite a confluence of events, not only in the comic book industry, but the world at large. I mean,
Yeah.
we're recording this on Father's Day yesterday, where some of the largest mass protests in terms of the No Kings protests
Mhm.
in U.S. history. I mean, I don't have the statistics yet. I did read that it was probably one of the biggest, in terms of the number of people that came out, the largest
Yeah.
protest specifically against a sitting U.S. president in our country's history. And so that was lovely to see. I wasn't able to get out, but I saw folks in Wilmington, Delaware, where I am, in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
had a pretty strong showing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah. But anyway, Jared, how have you been?
Oh, I've been good. I spent I sort of took a step back from from comic work generally and from being like a sort of like public person, right? I really wanted to work on myself and focus on my family this year. We had a pretty hard time last year, and I really wanted to get back and focus on taking care of them and making sure everything was good with them. Doing so, I somehow got sucked into a lot of my old activism ways, and I've been doing things for the North Side that I will not talk about on recordings. And I even floated running for city council for a little bit in where I live. We
Oh,
decided
wow.
against that. Yeah, I am very passionate, as I'm sure anybody who's ever heard me talk ever for longer than 5 minutes. I'm really passionate about my neighborhood. I'm really passionate about my community. They were all there for me when I needed them, and they're still here for me right now whenever we were going through the times that we were. So it means a lot to me. But I ended up not doing that so that I could stay focused on myself and my family. And it's been good. I really am grateful for how nice and calming, not obviously not for the world, right? But for me personally, like my home life, it's been a very nice, calm 6 months of not panicking, not stressing, worrying about the things that we actually can control. And that's what we've been doing. And it's been very good for me, very good for my wife, I think. And then obviously our kid is doing very well. She's recovering. She had some medical stuff last year, and she's doing really great. So I'm good. I know.
Awesome. No, that's great to hear.
The world's in the shit, but the Lujan household's kind of coming up.
Well, good. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So, all right, but let's get into what we're really, part of what we're really here to talk about today is if you're listening to this episode when it just came out, I think the Kickstarter campaign will be live. Because I think it goes live this week as we record this, but Mezo, which we talked about last time, as I guess Jared was coming on board for Volume 3, the trial of Rodan. And now this is going to be a Kickstarter for all 3 volumes, Volume 1, 2, and the complete Volume 3 trial of Rodan. Is that right, Tyler?
Yes, yeah. I mean, the idea was to kickstart Volume 3, but as many people do with Kickstarters, whether they've kickstarted the early ones or not. And this is our first time bringing Mezo to Kickstarter at all. I've mostly focused on anthologies in the past. Um, so for, I'm hoping just to include volume 1, 2, if we get some new readers who've never started with volume 1, then I want to make sure it's clear that you can start from the beginning if you need to, or you can just get number 3, which will be the new one. Volumes 1 and 2 are readily out there. So some people might see the Kickstarter and go out and pick up the first 2, and then they just have to back for the third. So yeah, the idea is like, all right, you can either get the complete 3-volume set, I'm calling it sort of like a trilogy, an initial trilogy anyway. Um, or for the longtime readers or people who've been with us before, they can be excited because I'm excited to have volume 3 finally out. This has been one of the most challenging to put together, but I think it's the best of the 3, and it just, really wraps up at least this first story arc really well. So yeah, I'm excited to have the three volumes together.
As did all of issue 3 or I guess volume 3, has that all come out yet? Or I know issue 1 was out for volume 3, The Trial of Ronan.
The first 2 issues came out. We were halfway through the third, so pretty much halfway through the whole volume. This is a 5-issue set, when just a whole mess of things sort of happened to sort of delay it. Some good, some bad. I mean, a lot going on in the world, which was crazy. A lot with myself, and changing some structures. Val, the artist, started getting some gigs at other companies, which I was very excited for him. As artists can't really do more than one. He was trying, like, he was sort of volunteering, like, oh, I'll do both at once. But the first gig he got was with Vault, doing a series with Christopher Yost on Natural Order. And so I
Right.
was like, okay, that sounds cool, but definitely don't mess up this gig. Like, make sure you meet your deadlines. And then as he was doing that, he got another one with Peter Milligan from Mad Cave, The Pale Knight, which
Yeah.
again, it's like, how can you turn down an opportunity to
Yeah,
work with? I'd like to work with Peter Milligan. I would chop
yeah,
to
I
work with Peter Milligan. So
yeah. I got to
I'll
talk to Peter Milligan, on the podcast about the Pale Knight. I mentioned, I said, "Oh, Val, I've talked to Val before, and he's worked on some other things, like Mezo, and yeah,
yeah.
Val's art is really good in the Pale
Yeah,
Knight."
exactly. And I didn't want him and again, he was volunteering, like, "Oh, I'll try to, like, let's work out a schedule where I can turn in here," and he was sort of showing me his deadlines there, and I was just like, "Well, if anything, meet your deadline for, like, number 1, number 2, and if there's time in between, work on Mezzo type like thing." But he ended up sort of needing all his deadlines for that's a 6-issue series.
Yeah.
And I was just like, just get that done. Like, if anything, finish that early or something like that, which he ended up needing the whole time. But he is done, which shows that the Pale Knight will come out. His number 1 just came out. So that series is good. So everyone should read that one, pick that one up from number 1, and read the 6 issues. And then, we're back working on volume 3. Jared and I got the scripts all together for, 4 and 5. And so hopefully, if no amazing writer, comes along and hires him quite yet, a couple of months down the road would be perfect. Though I do hope at some point we work on volume 4 and so on.
Right.
And again, that's just, that's comics, especially, artists breaking in, like, they get opportunities. You got to work with them. Um, yeah, I'm super happy for Val is fantastic artist, great guy. Love seeing these series come out. And no, I'm excited. We took a break. Jared talked about stepping away, working on family. I had a lot of other things going on with the company. We just got the Young Men in Love new romance out.
Right.
And opening up a new art store in Brooklyn, which is crazy. Sort of inherited my wife's parents' art store, which we cleaned out and got that set up, which I think is going to be great for a Way Blue World because it gives me a home base. This is my home office, but I'll be able to get out, get into Brooklyn and work, run an art store, keep the publishing company going. It's a
Oh,
lot going
wow.
on. So it was a good break. I'm sorry for people who sort of got started in volume 3, especially with, issue 1 and 2, and then there's been this break. But the good news is we're just going to complete it. Not only is volume 3 going to be complete, but this nice 3-volume set, which I think is a fantastic story. People are going to love how it sort of concludes with this trial of Rodin at the end here. And it'll be nice to have that sort of set out. And then we'll think about this next trilogy, because I would love to do like Star Wars. I'd love to sort of section it off into trilogies, and we'll see how far we get, which is why the Kickstarter will be really helpful to see, hopefully build a new audience and some sustainability there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love issue, volumes 1 and 2. For if Byron gets this up on YouTube for anyone looking at the video, I have my issue. There's issue 2. There's issue 1, or volume 1 and volume 2. I mean, I love this series, and so I'm very excited for this, especially because issue 1 of the Trial of Rodin, I thought was such a great way to kick off, this third volume. There's kind of some surprising, somewhat some surprising turns about like what caused the what was it, was it the eruption? Yeah, the rupture. The rupture. Yeah, like in terms of that, I just first off, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I mean, the art and colors in this book are absolutely beautiful. In that first issue of the Trial of Rodin, there's just some like lovely scenes where like the Empress just kind of like walks in and like walks through the village like she's going to visit like Rodin's wife. Like there are some very interesting things, and especially we get to see kind of how Rodin now reacts that he's being brought back. He's being labeled a traitor, which, listeners, if you haven't read volumes 1 and 2, you will. It'll make sense. And he's kind of like almost pleading with was it Fagor? It like all comes together in like such a way. Like we kind of visit with everybody. We still get a little glimpse back at like the past on the day of the rupture, and so I can't wait to see like where like to get the rest of this volume. Jared, how about for you? Is it difficult when you kind of get in on like writing scripts and writing a project, and like, look, delays happen, things happen with people getting other opportunities? Is it tough to you to like set something aside for a bit and then kind of have to jump back into it? Do you have to kind of like go through your notes, like reread your scripts? Like what is that process of having a gap in time for creation?
So the good news is that I sort of got to practice this with Crash and Troy. I don't know. I just had this memory, or this just come up on my socials a couple months ago. Like 7 years ago, this year was the first time that we had done any cover art for Crash and Troy. So that means that I'd been working on it for 7 years, and I put it aside, came back to it years later, and then I put it aside again, and then I came back to it again after its debacle. So whenever like I had already turned in all the scripts for Trial of Rodin, and Tyler emailed me and was talking about the Kickstarter. So I like went back and reread my scripts just because I'm sort of like, I'm a lettering pass guy, right? Like I want to make sure I'm a second look kind of person in any way. So I was like, I'm just going to go back and look through the scripts and see if there's things that I want to change, or things that I like dialogue, right? I'm like, at this point, Val's got to draw it. It's drawn. The panels are going to be how the panels are, but maybe I can change some of the dialogue if I really wanted to. And I did it. The only thing that I was sitting there rereading the scripts, and I'm like, man, we kind of crushed this. Like we kind of, I really do think that like this is a really fantastic volume. And I think that's always a nice feeling, because like I've definitely gone back and like the first draft of Crash and Troy, I look back at that and I was like, man, this sucks. Like I really did not fully grasp like the way that the format worked when I wrote that first series. So it's kind of cool to be able to go back at something that you've walked away from for a few months and to feel emboldened by it more than anything. So the creative side was done, but getting back onto the promotional stuff and getting back into talking about it with people, I didn't want to come into anything and and not know what I was talking about, but because I'm also a very forgetful person, been hit in the head a lot, brain is rattling around in there and just trying its best. So, but yeah, I was really, really psyched with rereading the scripts. I reread the first 2 volumes, and I still was like, man, I love this. I love this series. I love Fagor, forever, Team Fagor, and I think that's like really what all I needed, right? I need a big bad guy with a sword, and I was like, this is my guy, So it's been really cool going back to Mezo, to kind of getting really excited about it, and getting really excited about comics again, right? Like I said, I took a step back and um, getting back into reading work that I know I like, rereading work rereading work I've done that I really enjoyed. Has been a really cool experience just the last few weeks. It's been really nice. Nice little sort of gust of air beneath the wings,
Oh, nice. No, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Uh, so for listeners who may not have, I guess, listened to the last episode, the last time you two guys were on, and, what do you think, looking at everything as a whole, like the 3 volumes, like what do you think has been like is the over like arching draw to like working on Mezo, and for fans that I think here as we record this, Heroes is coming up next week. I'm sure Mezo is going to be on the table there. I know that you for a Wave Blue World. I've seen social media. I've seen you and your wife like out of conventions. Like what do you think is really the draw for Mezo?
I think it's for a fantasy series. We don't have a lot of them in comics, really. Like a really like big epic sort of fantasy. And when I say epic, I feel like I'm like trying to like brag about it or something like that. But I just mean the level of storytelling. Like we do that with superheroes where something goes on and on and on and things like that. But fantasy, anything that's come out of fantasy seems to be fairly like self-contained. And I don't know if that's a risk element. And certainly we've experienced some of that. But when I started it, like I knew um when the story started coming into my head, like, no, this has to be huge. This has to be grand. This has to be something that people want to, jump into for a little while. Like, we can still section it off into volumes and people read that and there can be some level of the self-contained there. But I want the world building to be so sort of big. Um, the history, the civilizations. I mean, we have the flashbacks, we have the migrations, we have the meeting of cultures that go back generations and will have knock-on effects for generations. Everything that I've loved about whether it's Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, which you can see it's like goes through generations. I wanted this to be sort of like a generational fantasy epic, which I know is asking a lot for readers to come on and read through it, but I don't know. I mean, I think there's some appeal to that. I mean, there's fantasy books that go on for volumes. I'm talking about like prose and things like that. So I wanted to create something like that, and I think some people it really does appeal to. They're like, oh, this is neat to see world building on this scale in a comic book series with visuals that are great, because that's what's the strength of comic books is get to draw all this stuff, all these swords, all these creatures, and I want to throw that all in there, like big, crazy creatures and buildings and settings and weapons and costumes, get that all into a fantasy series.
And I do want to say, and I think we talked about this, last time, but just to kind of, dig into it a little bit again, in terms of, what Mezo means and the idea of like kind of, I mean, it is a fantasy setting, but bringing in that Mesoamerican kind of culture and influence. And look, we've seen fantasy settings forever and forever, and whether or not, you play Dungeons and Dragons or it's Game of Thrones or like whatever it might be, even The Hobbit, it's all very, European, centric.
Yeah.
But it's amazing to me. Like you go whenever I look something up, whatever it might be, and you're on Wikipedia or you're on Google, and you kind of go down like a rabbit hole in terms of whatever sparks your initial search, and you and I've done that plenty of times. Everybody has. You go from one thing to another, and I've often found myself in terms of looking up things from the past, and it's it's amazing the things we aren't taught in school about, like the Aztec and Inca civilizations. Also, like the Middle Eastern, like the Muslim Golden Age. Places in the South Pacific. I don't know if it's Vanuatu or like other areas in the South Pacific, like the culture and like what they were able to build and create. And it's like, oh, I didn't learn any of this shit. This is fascinating. Why aren't we doing something with this? I mean, yeah, great. I like castles, I like dragons, but like this shit's wild. And this is real. And so to take some of that culture and that influence and that society and create a world out of that, I just give me more of it. Give it to me. Give it to me. Give it to me. Shove it in my face. Right?
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah,
Jared. I saw you. I saw you react when I said that.
Good, yeah.
If I read another story with an elf in it, I'm gonna beat my head against the desk. I like and you see like the rehashing of European mythology is like nonstop. It's in superheroes. It's in fantasy. The Shakespeare gets dragged out and rehashed every couple of years. Like we get it. like we get it. But that obviously, anybody again who's ever talked to me about this stuff knows that I love the Aztecs. My family lineage descends from the Aztecs from Mexico City, the capital, Tenochtitlan. I have a lot of love and adoration for that culture and that history, because it's a part of me. And so when I was reading Mezo, I the first two volumes, I was like, hell yeah, like this is already something that's already interesting to me. Just the influence of the art, but also like the way that the culture is different. Like there's one that obviously is a largely metal tools. Others, the other rival tribes have less access to that. There's these giant monsters that we've never seen. We have this giant conspiracy at it. And then again, right, like I think that so much of fantasy is about like governance, right? There's like thematic about these political kingdoms and leadership and things like that. And when I came to Mezo, the ones and I'm sure Tyler intended this, but what I picked up from it was empire and imperialism. And that's something that obviously really is one of my favorite topics to explore. And that's what we got to do. That's really what my main goal was with volume 3, is looking at the empire from the inside, right? Rodin is this loyal soldier who is having a moral conflict that puts him at ends with the empire he serves. And it's really tearing him apart as a character. And because these are the people he's been loyal to his whole life. And so for me, that's a chance to explore the way that we employ morality with our duty, the way that we exist as humans amongst each other and humans that exist under an imperial rule. That was stuff that I really thought I love, analyzing and looking at. So I thought that was a really cool aspect of it, that also you get like a unique, anybody, if you don't understand the history of like, of Mexico, right? Which is my particular one, right? Mexico has an incredible history about empire and rebellion and presidents who tried to become dictators and then rebellion. And Mexico has the only, I believe it's the only recorded emperor to ever exist in North America. He didn't last very long. And so there's like this sort of intrinsic rebellious nature that comes with and that you have to take into consideration when you're looking, I looked into when I was writing these issues, is thinking about this complicated history of these people who want to be free and people who don't want them to be, right? Like it's this collision of cultures and this collision of people, and sort of like in being introspective about being one of those people that you're doing something that is morally right, but it's legally wrong, right, by the people you serve. And I think that's a really fascinating take. I don't think it's a really fascinating. I think it's something that doesn't get explored in fantasy a lot. I think European fantasy almost has, by its nature, uh, an adherence to kingdoms and monarchies, right? Because that's their history. That's where it's developed. England still has a king. It's 2025. He don't even do anything. He like drives around. Like, what are we even doing with this? He doesn't even govern, right? So there's sort of this weird blind loyalty, and maybe I'm not saying anybody's doing it on purpose. Maybe it's just incidental. Maybe it's just the cultural value, because our cultures do instill values in us. That this sort of loyalty to these governments and these political entities that don't actually need to exist,
Right.
especially not anymore. So
Yeah.
when you're looking at something like that, when you're looking at this sort of intrinsically rebellious nature that comes with Mesoamerican history, it's something that's really exciting for me to explore in a fantasy series. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
really cool. I think it's a nice breath of fresh air.
Oh, I agree. But also, I mean, we can, and even though these scripts were written, some time ago, the morality of what Rodin is going through is, it seems to be, it's always relevant. And even I think folks reading, like, who pick up issue 1, who get like the 3 volumes, or who have read 1 and 2 and get volume 3, who haven't had a chance yet to read like issue 1. I mean, it's so relevant, that concept, to kind of explore, especially right now, where, if you even watch the news a little bit, or on social media, where what we have going on, in this country, with ICE raids, where a lot of the agents are usually wearing clothing that is not marked, covering their face, where you have the president recently deploying the National Guard and Marines, like, to Los Angeles. And you'll see, folks post or talk about, like, there's a hotline for like, current military, in terms of what their orders might be. And that, you have Rodin, who is kind of made a choice. He's being branded as a traitor. But what I thought was really interesting was, you have these 2 guys in issue 1 who are like, what's the deal with Rodin? Like, he's a traitor just because he showed like a little mercy. And then another guy, not to spoil the bit of issue 1, but it's a really great scene, and I think it's pretty relevant. And the other soldier is just like, hey, this is what it is. And he said, well, Rodin's been a pretty great leader. And the guy says, well, he didn't listen to orders. Doesn't sound like a great leader to me. And you have this like fascinating dynamic with like Rodin's like personal choice, and how the other members, like, in the army, are kind of, relating to it. And like, we see that idea like being played out in real time, between someone's like orders and what might be, morally right in the eyes of, other people. It's kind of fascinating. And I know you couldn't have like intended any of that, knowing like what the future held when you wrote the scripts, but like, it clicked to me instantly. Not that some of what is going on is new by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know. I just, I found that very fascinating, and I love that I was kind of being explored, and I want to see where it goes from there. So
Right. And you can see how much fear is being used. I mean, the emperor uses so much of fear and, well, illusion too. I mean, there's so much lying going on, and just repeating lies and using tricks to make that seem like, oh, I'm keeping you safe through this method, right? So any dissent, anybody who's, working against that or questioning that, it's not, it becomes less of a moral issue and more of a fear issue, because, oh, you're putting us all at risk. And you'll even see that with Rodin and his wife, who plays a big part in this volume. It's like, just think about our kids and our family, and follow the rules, and the emperor will keep us safe. And I mean, it's new. I mean, it seems very relevant because it is, but it's also something, a pattern that is just used continually throughout history. And so I wanted this series to reflect that.
Yeah, and if I want to add on to that, is like Rodin. I love Rodin as a character a lot. But the first thing that I told Tyler that I wanted to do was like the thing about Mezo is there's so many characters, right? There's a bunch. They're all doing things. They all have their own motivations. And when I was like, okay, so this is going to be a rodent centric volume, I need to look at what is going to break him, because that's what you need to look at and analyze in order to properly reflect what the themes that I was trying to get across with empire and sacrifice and morality in the age of empire, right? So that was the thing that I was most focused and zeroed in on is what is Rodin's core? What is Rodin's heart, and how can we break it? And that's all I'm going to say, because obviously you're listening to this because we're trying to convince you to buy the book, and I'm not going to tell you the ending. But so if that sounds good to you, back the Kickstarter, because I think it really is like I really do think that the final issue of this volume is some of the best writing that I've ever done. And obviously everything's co-written. I'm not going to sit here and take my own victory lap while Tyler's sitting at the bottom of the screen.
You Steve, that's right. And I'm a fan of Jared, which is why I brought him on. Like, I will concur and support that. Take all the credit you want.
But it is such a dramatic issue, and it's so tense that even reading the scripts again, I was like, man, this like really nails across everything I was trying to say through all these issues. So very excited for people to kind of get into that and to see not just its relevancy to today, but how deeply emotional and turbulent these interactions are with its fellow characters and with the things that we love and the things that we have to we risk losing. But we risk losing things on either side. You know what I mean? It's just been I really love that final issue. I really love the way it ends. And I think that that's really what's going to hit the relevancy. Like, I don't think people have realized how relevant it is until you get to issue 5 and you weep a little bit. But
well, I'm very much looking forward to it. I mean, I just, from when I first, heard about the series and, got into it and started reading it. And, yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I say it a ton on the podcast. Like, listeners are probably tired of me saying it, but like, one of the things I love about doing this is you discover things that you might not have initially like picked up or didn't come across your radar. And I just love things that I feel like I haven't seen before. Like, no matter what it is, whether or not it's a storyline, whether or not it's a type of character, whether or not it's a culture that's kind of that is the influence for the world building, or writers and artists taking big swings, even if they don't always work. Right? I love seeing stuff that I feel like there's nothing else like it. I mean, I'll still read DC and read all kinds of other stuff, and it's great and I enjoy it. But man, when it's like, what is they say on the internet's finally some good fucking food. When I get something that I just haven't seen before, and I'm just like, yes, what is this? Yes, please, more of it. And Mezo is just, bam, right there, right in that sweet spot.
And we haven't even said that it's colored by Gab Contreras yet. And Gab colors with Val's art amazing. Like even if you've listened to this whole thing and you're like, oh, that doesn't sound like a theme that and stuff that I'm interested in. Everybody's interested in Gab Contreras coloring Val Rodriguez's work. It is fantastic. Yeah. It's gorgeous. It's so dope. I'm so psyched. I'm so psyched for it to finally be out. Like,
yeah, Gab. I've never spoken to Gab, but read plenty of stuff that Gab has colored. And you're absolutely right, Jared. I mean, the book's gorgeous. I mean, from cover to back cover, like T to B,
Yeah.
top to bottom, it is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous book. It is so vibrant. It is so alive, and that's the one thing about this world. Like if you've been looking for something that you can kind of get lost in, and let's say if none of the none of the Empire stuff, you don't care about that. You just want some great action scenes. This has it. If you're a dialogue person, there are some great dialogue in all 3 volumes, some great conversations. And if you're somebody that just wants to dig into the artwork, you're hard pressed to find a more beautiful looking book than any of the volumes of Mezo. I mean, but I think it's just phenomenal.
And again, big ass bad guy with a sword, right? What more do you need? Like, if we could sell it on that, Fagor. Right? I'm on Fagor's street team, and I have plans for Fagor. So we need y'all to we need everyone to be excited because I have big plans for Fagor.
I know I had to keep Jared from turning it into a figure solo book at the end there. I'm like, you'll get your chance. Get your chance. Just hold on a little. Like you wrote it in his moment. Huh?
Yeah, I was like, I have this great idea for Fagor. I'm just gonna swing it, but it didn't work, right? Like yet, but it will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right,
But it will.
Yeah. Well, an exciting tease of what is to come. But yeah, I'm very excited for this. I cannot wait. Like I absolutely love these 2 volumes. I loved the first issue of Trial of Rodan. So I cannot wait. So listeners, as you're listening to this, there'll be a link in the show notes to the Kickstarter, and I urge and encourage all of you to go check it out and back the Kickstarter, because this is the type of comic that I feel it deserves to be read. It deserves to be seen. It is truly epic, in its storytelling, in its scope. And yeah, the only way that happens is if you go and back the Kickstarter and let folks know that you want to read it, you want a piece of it, and yeah. And then once it's successful, I'm sure at some convention you'll see Tyler, you'll see Jared with Mezo on the table, and you can tell him that I heard you guys on that podcast, and Jimmy was right. This was great. Glad I picked this up. And when's the Fagor book coming?
Yeah. That everybody, if you back the Kickstarter and you see Tyler at a convention, you need to just hit him up for the Fagor book. Like,
Right on. We'll get you and Maria Wolf to do that one.
Oh, okay. Well,
she did a great cover for the #1 issue.
Yeah.
War centric one.
Yeah. Oh, Maria's work is like, it's amazing. I
Mhm.
mean, just
Yeah.
that's
absolutely incredible.
Maria Wolf is a Mexican pride story. In a very small package. I didn't expect her to be so small, but she's fiery. I love her.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and her work's incredible. And it's another thing where it's just like, I don't know that I've seen like anything quite like this. Like she does covers, and it's just it's unreal.
Yeah.
It's unreal. Like you see it. I think she was at Baltimore. I go to Baltimore Comic-Con every year. I think she was at Baltimore either last year or the year before.
She does good shows. Yeah, she'll be at Heroes Con and New York Comic Con. Yeah, she's around.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, the Kickstarter, it'll be live when you see this. It's running for a month. I think June 17th it goes live, and it'll run till July
17th. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, Jared, I really appreciate you coming on this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. I know it's early for you folks, but I really appreciate it. I think Mezo's phenomenal. I love everything that A Wave Blue World does. Since I first heard about A Wave Blue World, and I think the first thing I ever did was pick up maybe Someday.
Yeah, the anthology, maybe someday. Yeah.
That anthology was one of the first things I picked up. I really loved it. Yeah, from that to the more recent Young Men in Love anthology. And Jared, I mean, since I first read Dry Foot. I think I've read just about everything that you've put out. And listeners, if you haven't, Crash and Troy is hilarious. I love it. I'd read 8 more volumes of those. I just think it's just an amazing series. But you know, if you have read Mezo and you kind of like those cultural influences, you like that world, you would be doing yourself a disservice if you did not read The Twin Blades and Blood and Obsidian, because it's phenomenal. So yeah, there's my Jared Lujan commercial. I've been working on it.
Yeah, I love them all. I think everything I've ever written is really good, and you should get it.
All right. Well, thank you guys both so much. I really appreciate you coming on today. Enjoy the rest of your Father's Day. Shout out to my brother Bobby, the Cryptid Creator Corner's #1 most dedicated fan. Bobby listens to all my episodes. Bobby, buys a lot of comics. He's got 4 kids. So Bobby, I hope you had a wonderful Father's Day. I hope the kids didn't give you too much trouble. But
I hope they did. I hope you got a lot of trouble.
That's what fatherhood is about.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I say that, but I'm sure they did. He has a 13-year-old daughter, and his identical triplet boys are about to turn 11 next month.
Wow.
So Bobby's in the shit.
Wow. Bobby. Yeah, Bobby. I'm gonna send you. I don't even know what to send somebody for that. Flowers? Like I'm sorry.
So yeah, but thank you guys very much. I really appreciate it. Listeners, thank you for listening. And please check out the Kickstarter for Mezo. You will not be disappointed. It's just an amazing series. So Tyler, Jared, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thanks for having us.